right there. Okay, so how I made 60K today. Let's take a peek at that. And take a look. All right, so I did some 30, some 630 strike, 0 DTE calls. All right, so let's take a look at what those look like with today's price action. Let me move this over. Move that out of the way so you can see it when I fan it out. Okay, it had a grind up right here. All I did was buy the lows, sell the highs. Now to do that, I set a net of sells. All right, so I put in like 10 or 12 sell orders at different pennies. All right, and then I put a net of buy orders. Okay, like 5 to 10 buy orders in at different pennies. Okay, same thing. Sell the highs, buy the lows. Constantly just selling the highs and buying the lows. You can see right here, it ripped, from like 8 cents clear up to 24 cents. That was a nice one, right? Because if I bought these for 5 cents and I sold some of these for 20 cents, that's a 400% gain right there. Okay, if I bought them for, let's say, 5 cents, maybe even some for 4 cents, you can see right here, and you're selling them out up here for 19 cents and 20 cents and 24 cents. All right, that's a 400% gain inside of, I don't know, maybe an hour right there. Okay, it doesn't happen all the time, but when you get one of these blast offs, all right, and they build the launch pad, okay, you can see price comes down, puts in 2 or 3 tails right here, and then it starts to build a launch pad, and then they take off, and then they hit the ceiling, come back, all right, find the new floor, the new base, bounce back up, put in another launch pad, you can see right here, and I just sold off into that launch right there. I didn't want these 0 DTEs after 2:30. I decided to just transition those right into some 1 DTEs that expire tomorrow. All right, so there is the 6:30 call, 0 days till expiration. Now we go to the 1 day till expiration, 6:35 call. Okay, you can see I'm doing the same thing. All right, I'm spreading out a net, see every penny. Okay, now you can I got 300, 100, 200, all right, 500. Okay, you can get a lot more of these because they're cheaper. All right, they're not like $1.50 or $10 a share for each for these options. All right, so I can get a lot at a penny or 2 penny, 3 penny, 4 penny. All right, makes it easy to get a lot like that because it doesn't cost as much. All right, so you can see I spread out a net of sell orders, and I let price run into my sell orders, and then I got a net of buy orders, rigged out at every penny. Okay, at every penny. Okay, so when they come back, price runs in to my buy orders, and I get filled there. So I get sell orders and buy orders, and I get filled every time price goes up and down, looking for price just to continue melting up. Had a nice little trend going on here. You can see, you take it from the bottom of that tail, and price went all the way back up there. Price comes back, hits VWAP and the trend line at the same time, and rallies back up, and actually winds up coming up on top of this 2-day or the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, so that was the 6:35 1 day till expiration call. Okay, I still got some of those. All right, now I got some 3 days till expiration 6:35 call. Okay, you can see I made like 2K on those. All right, you can see all I'm doing, I'm buying. All right, down here I set up a net of buy orders. Same thing, okay, like on in these pennies here. Sometimes I stagger these out like by 2 pennies, all right, but you can see, and then I set up a net All right. In other words, I cast out 3, 4, 5. I offer out at different pennies up above and let price run into those and capture profit that way. As price moves up, all right, I capture profit after it runs into my net of sell orders. Okay, it's not a real, literal net. Okay, it is a battery of sell orders, farmed out at each penny. You can see right there. So that's how I do that. Okay, at the lows, and the highs. Now I got to look for specific criteria to do this. Okay, if price is dropping, okay, this net of sell orders is not going to work. Okay, it's imperative that price moves up and holds some higher ground. Okay, and you can see a lot of price spent a lot of time, okay, over VWAP up here, okay, which is bullish. All right, that's bullish up there. Keep in mind, just yesterday was the all-time high. Okay, so this is up over VWAP. That's very bullish right there. Okay, so for me, that's bullish. I can do what I normally do, which set up a battery of sell orders up at every penny up there, and put in a battery or a net of buy orders underneath. So after I unload, I reload, unload, reload. Okay, that's all I'm doing. All right, I set up a net, or I call it a battery, or you can call it just a barrage of sell orders on every penny up there, and then you can see that I stagger them out to capture as price pulls back, runs into my buy orders, and I get reloaded, all right, with options. Okay, so that's that. So that was the 635 3DTE calls. Okay, now we're going to go to the 632 1 day till expiration call. Okay, so I don't think I entered those, I think, after 2:30. Yeah, you can see after 2:30. Remember, I was telling you that on the 6:30 calls, I didn't want anything to do with those 0 DTEs after 2:30 because I didn't want to get stuck with them. All right, because they expire at 4:15. All right, or at 4 o'clock for me, because this is paper count. So you can see right there, I want to get out. So I started to buy into those 1 DTE 632 strike calls. All right, buy in, and as price goes up, I farm some out, and then I reload, and then I farm some out. All right, I harvest whatever I planted. All right, okay, and then I unload. Okay, right up here. So again, I harvest, and now I plant some more, and then I harvest, and then I plant some more and get some more. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Okay, I put up, again, orders. You can see here at 32, 30, probably at 28. You can see where I put in a battery or a brick of buy orders underneath, staggered out, sometimes every penny, sometimes every 2 pennies, sometimes every 3, every 4, every 5. It all depends on how fast price is moving and how much I want to capture before I think the next move is going to take off. All right. Sometimes I can wind up holding a bunch of them and they all decay on me. All right. While I'm holding too many. So, there's kind of a knack or an art to doing it. All right, and there's no said rules on how to do it. It's kind of a feeling, all right? There's no rules on how to set your brick of buy orders up or your brick of sell orders, okay? You just kind of look at how fast price is moving and how well it's doing what it is doing, okay? Is it doing it well? Like, my friend Malcolm would say, how well is it doing it? And he would look at it and say, well, we only moved from, for 4 hours, we stayed between 627 and 628. Okay, it's not doing it very well, but it is doing it. Okay, so you don't need to put in a big spread of sell orders or buy orders is kind of pretty tight like that. And of course, when it's tight like that, you get lots of decay. So you constantly have to increase the lower parts, all right, to kind of bring your cost basis down. All right, so that's what I did there. Okay, so that's those 632 calls, 1 day till expiration. 640 calls. Oh, here's a perfect example of it. Okay, you can see where I farm them out. Okay, up on top. I don't know. Sometimes I won't get a price come up here. Okay, but I was thinking maybe we get to 630, maybe 631. We didn't get there. You can see, obviously. All right, this is the whole day's work right there, and I put in, of course, a bank or a brick of buy orders underneath. So unload, reload, unload, reload, bring my cost down, unload, reload, unload. You can see, all right, this, you can see the red dots are the sells and the blue dots are the buys. Okay, so as price goes up, it runs into my brick or my net of sell orders. Okay, I call this is all like, that's my net. All right, so price runs into my sell orders right there, and then I get filled, and that's what I like. Okay, same thing here, 625. All right, these are puts. All right, and looks like I made 660 on those, and that was probably, you can see I bought the puts for this dip right there. We had a fast dip right into gap fill right there, okay, and low of day. You can see right there. Okay, so there was a dip there, so I bought some puts there and is able to exit those, all right, and actually make 660 for that. Okay, then we got some 1 DTE calls right here. All right, got some, 630 calls. 630 calls, 1 DTE right there. Okay, so you can see, again, these are for tomorrow. All right, I dumped my 0 DTE and transitioned into these ones, only because I kind of had a hunch we were making higher lows. That price would probably close near the high of the day at the end of the day. Okay, so if you notice, all right, just going to show you this last candle. Okay, see that wick up there? That actually is high of day. Okay, right there, that last wick right up top there, right underneath the arrow cursor that I'm moving around. Okay, so that is high of day. So that was my hunch, and because it was making higher lows and higher highs, okay? That's the reason I had the hunch. And I saw the consolidation on top of VWAP. And then, of course, it transitioned into a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP right up there, okay? So that's what happened for today. And we got this uptrend going on, okay? I also traded some Qs, some Qs puts, and I don't see those. Yeah, I made a little bit of money on those. I lost some, on these calls right here. You can see they never got going. These were some 633 0 DTE, and you can see I ran out of space. All right, the highest they got was 6 cents up there, and then they quickly decayed down to a high price of, well, you can see 2 cents right here. All right, so they quickly decayed. So I lost some money on those. You can see I lost 3,400 on those. All right, and then I did trade some Intel. All right, I had some Intel. Don't do that to me. Okay, if I can drag this over here. Okay, so I had some Intel calls that I was holding from the previous day, if you remember. All right, I made $166 on those calls as Intel rallied up to 23.50. Then I had some 3 DTE calls, made $10 on those. All right, I still got some 25 strike, and you can see I only made $10 on those. And then I got these QQQ puts right here, made $17.60 on those. Again, it was the big dip. right at the beginning, okay? And we used we got one of the members here shares his SPY chart with us in the morning. Of course, that was that was really nice. All right, so we had this. I got to show you this. Just being difficult. There we go. Okay. So SPY chart right up here. So John shares his SPY chart with us, QQQ SPY chart in the morning with us. He's doing it every morning, which is like fantastic. And you'll see it up here. A lot of guys share the charts. Okay, so he comes up with some buys and sells on it. And it's coming up. Here it is. All right, so he's got a sell line and a buy line, and you can see price came below the sell line, to fill gap down here. Okay, so we had a bought some Q puts, made a little bit of money on those QQQ puts right there. You can see here's his buy and sell orders from before. Okay, so he shares this with us every morning. We'll buy, sell, and then bullish pivot right there. Okay, so that's kind of nice. You get his perspective. I also share a QQQ chart with a game plan, but here's his. And of course, I just want to point that out that both of ours worked right there. So real nice to see him share that. I like that. I appreciate that because I want members to see other people's perspectives as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and drill down, and we'll take a look at what else. You already saw how I fared today. Okay, so let's move this out of the way, and we'll pick this one up here. Okay, 10-minute. Okay, so you can see we had a 10-minute uptrend, not the prettiest of 10-minute uptrends, but the 3 was up over the 8 for the most part on this bump and grind right here between basically 12:30. Okay, that's when it all manifested right here. About 12:30, 1 o'clock, you can see the 3 crosses, all right? And then we just kind of melted up from there. All right, so we had a 10-minute uptrend right into the close, and then they just consolidated on top, so they kind of pinched it off. So it's not really a downtrend, not really an uptrend. I'm just going to call it consolidation right into the close on the 10-minute chart. Let's take a look at the 2-hour chart. All right. And on the 2-hour chart, got a lot of lines on there. So I'm going to pick up a different one. All right. And you can see we had a 2-hour uptrend earlier yesterday. Okay. And then we lost it with that big dip. Okay. And then you can see here's the 2-hour. We had a downtrend because the 3 was underneath the 8. And then by closing time, they pinched it off into not quite a 2-hour uptrend, but not a downtrend either. Okay, so kind of 2-hour consolidation right along with 10-minute consolidation. Okay, on the daily chart, we did have a daily uptrend. You can see the 3 EMA on top of the 8 EMA. And you can see price action today. Not a new all-time high today, okay, but all-time high was made yesterday. Today's not a bad candle. It's a lower high and a lower low. Closing over the bullish trap, that is bullish, and over the rising 17 EMA on the daily chart. Okay, if you look at that with the quad lines on there. And I'll zoom out. Okay. And you can see right there with the quad lines, we're up at the top of quadrant 4. All right. This would be quadrant 1, 2, 3, and that's quadrant 4 up there. Okay, so you're bullish up there in quadrant 4, and in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. So SPY bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, still got that. See that daily uptrend. The 3's on top of the 8, and you can see everybody's over the 17 EMA here. Okay, so that's bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at QQQ. Okay, QQQ, remember, made a new all-time high yesterday as well. Okay, so it did kind of the same candle as SPY. lower high, lower low, but instead of closing over a bullish trap, they closed inside the bullish trap. Not too bad. Up over the 17 EMA. Again, price action at top of quadrant 4. All right. Got an uptrend. Got a couple of lows here, a couple of highs, and there's an all-time high way up there. Okay, so that's uptrend and bullish. Okay, anytime you're in the upper third, that's bullish. And up over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP. QQQ, bullish, and in an uptrend. FNGU. FNGU put in a bearish engulfing candle right there. Okay, so we got a lower high and a lower low, closing underneath the bullish trap, but over the rising 17 EMA. Still holding the higher ground up there. Okay, you can see price action moves up and then over to the right. Okay, so up and over, that's bullish. Okay, when you go up and you hold the higher ground, that's bullish. If you go up and you give it up, that's just neutral. Okay, but this is like going up and holding the higher ground. Okay, for those of you that exercise, that's like planking for 6.5 hours. Okay, it takes an incredible amount of strength to do that. Okay, and that's what it's showing you, that this is a strong ETF or a strong security, and this is a very strong unit or to purchase. Okay, instrument. All right, it's a strong instrument because it's moving up and holding that higher ground. Okay, so that's FNGU. Okay, that's bullish and in an uptrend. All right, hasn't fallen apart yet. Okay, IWM. IWM puts in lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the rising 17 up there in the upper third. You can see this is quadrant 4. So this is in the upper third. That's bullish and in an uptrend. All right, nothing's broken here. Still got all these nice green dots. Everything's working still and moving up and holding the higher ground up there. That's IWM. Diamond Dow. Okay, look at it. Move up, move over to the right. Okay, that's what we like to see. All right, that's a sign of strength. Okay, price action for today. Lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the rising 17 EMA right there. Okay, up over all-time high anchored VWAP. That's this pink line right there. Again, we got lows, we got higher lows, we got highs, we got a higher high. Okay, up there in quadrant 4. Okay, that's bullish up there. Anytime you're in the upper third, that's bullish. So Diamond Dow, bullish and then an uptrend over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so there's Diamond Dow. All right, let's take a look at technicals. T2122. Okay, you can see spent some time at the 100% line on yesterday. Well, today we ended up starting out from the buyer's chop zone, and we wound up camping out inside the buy zone all day. Okay, because this is where we started. This is where we left off last night, was right here at the midpoint. And you can see we had a rocket ship right into the buy zone. And we just landed and we camped out all day on the buy zone right there. So that's T2122s. And that's bullish, by the way, okay, in the buy zone. T2123. All right, here we go again. New rally all-time high for T2123. Okay, it's in an uptrend because it's making, here's a low, see below the 17 EMA. Here's some lows, okay. Got some higher lows, got some highs, got a new rally high right there, okay. So that's T21, that's bullish, and then an uptrend up over there's 200 SMA right there, okay. T21, 23, 3-bar. This is the same product. All right, so it's bullish on the 3-bar chart. Now it's not all. It wasn't always bullish on the 3-bar chart until we actually made a higher high. Okay, there was a time back here where we had not made a higher high, but yet we had a lot of green candle bars right here. Okay, now because we've made You can see there's a high right there. Well, we made a higher high than right there, so we finally got this into an uptrend. So this is bullish. All right. Again, new rally high since April. Okay, up there. See it all the way up there. They rallied from down here all the way up there. So new rally high. All right, and it's bullish, and it's in an uptrend because we got some low. Well, we got a higher low, and then we got a high here. We got a higher here, and then we got a higher high all the way up there. Okay, T2123 3-bar up over this hooking 200 SMA, and that's over these two prior all-time highs right there. All right, let's take a look at FNGU on the 15-minute chart. Again, okay, this is doing it's doing the right stuff. Okay, it's really doing the right stuff. Again, you move it up and over to the right. Again, okay, that's bullish. Okay, anytime you see that happen, that is a bullish environment. All right, when you see that, okay, you got consolidation right through there. Okay, just over here. Okay, see all the consolidation, and now we've got consolidation over, okay, on top of prior consolidation. That is bullish. Okay, that is a bullish environment when you see that happen too. Okay, so there's price on FNGU. Okay, look like they did a little cooling off today. Let's take a peek at what they did. All right, so it looks like yesterday was buying from the beginning to the end. Today was selling from the beginning to the end. Okay, and we see price back under the 200 SMA. You know what? I'm fine with it. You know, crisscrossing across the 200 SMA, as long as as long as you get to see this launch pad, as long as at the end of the day, when the launch pad is constructed, all right, we lift off. I don't care. As long as you keep building the launch pad and we lift off and we have a nice big higher high. That's what I'd like to see. Okay, on FNGU. All right, you can see it up over all-time high anchored VWAP. Again, that's the pink line right there. So FNGU on the 15-minute chart. Again, moving up, holding the higher ground. Okay, that's bullish, and it's still in an uptrend because it's making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, again today, just selling from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Okay, quite different because on T2123, on the 15-minute chart, I think it looked like buying. All right, well, see this? Quite different than FNGU, was buying from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. Okay, is the exact opposite of FNGU. Okay, so, and we managed, you can see we managed to get price to go up in SPY with the T2123, while FNGU, you can see, stayed flat. Okay, so it went over to the right, actually went down a little bit. All right, and then of course the rest of the market helped carry the SPY up because this was doing nothing but selling and putting in this bear flag. All right, but all in all, it's a little mini bear flag inside of a bull flag up there. Okay, so there's FNGU. All right, let's take a look at a few other sectors. All right, we'll start off with XLE. All right, energy, again, got a habit of moving up and giving it up. You can see how many times it crosses up. This is the pink line. This is the all-time high anchored VWAP right here, okay? You can see how many times it goes up there, and she rejects him, all right? See that? Up, rejected, up, rejected, up, rejected, okay? Every time goes up there and gets rejected, okay? Then comes all the way down here and can't hold the lower ground and winds up coming all the way back. So this is neutral, okay, for XLE, all right? Because if you were in the upper third, like up here, okay, anywhere up here, this would be bullish, okay? In the lower third, Okay, this goes for stocks too. This would be bearish. Okay, but we're not in the upper or the lower. It's kind of just wiggling back and forth here. Okay, in the neutral zone. All right, so we're just neutral right through here. Okay, just neutral. All right, and you can see where price, it goes up. All right, and then it gives it up, and then it goes up, and you can see then it gives it up and more. Okay, then it goes down, and then they give it up there. Okay, so it's just neutral. Okay, they go up, they give it up. Okay, they even go down, and they give that up too. Okay, so it's just neutral through here. Okay, it's not ready yet. Okay, I will say it's in an uptrend because we got a couple of lows right here, so we got a couple of higher lows. Okay, got a couple of highs right here, and that's believe it or not, that beats by a penny. That's a higher high. Okay, so they do have an uptrend. Today's candle didn't help out the uptrend too much because this is an uptrend, but as you can see, they have a habit of giving it up. For the last 8 days, they have not been moving up. They've been moving down, a pullback in the uptrend. Okay, if they take out this low that happens to dip below the 17, they will have created a lower low. They will negate the uptrend and convert it into a downtrend if they get below this low. Okay, so below that little tail right there, that's a downtrend. Okay, but just remember, it's just a label. Okay, all right, it might be a downtrend, it might be an uptrend. Okay, all in all, it's in the neutral zone. Okay, it's not doing much of anything or doing it well. All right, the only thing they are doing well is giving it up every time. Okay, that's what they're very good at doing so far. Okay, it's just giving it up. That's the only thing they're doing well. Either you go down, they give it up. You go up, they give it up. Okay, so price action looks like a lower high and a lower low, closing underneath a bearish trap. That's bearish. Underneath the 17, that's bearish. Okay, over downtrend line 1 is bullish, but under downtrend line 2, all right, is bearish. Okay, we're not far from the all-time high anchored VWAP. You can see we've made several attacks on it. Just can't seem to get up there and hold that higher ground up there. Okay, so there's XLE. It's neutral and still in an uptrend. Okay, it's not ready yet unless you want to play that uptrend. Okay, but bear in mind, you can see every month. Here's April, they give it up. Here's May, they give it up. Here's June, they give it up. Here's July, they give it up. Okay, so you can play it, you can trade it. Okay, but just beware, every month they've been giving it up. Okay, so there's XLE, not really ready yet. Okay, so that's in an uptrend, but just neutral. That's XLE. All right, again, not in the upper third, not in the lower third. Let's take a look at USO. Okay, you got USO. It's in an uptrend. All right, because we're making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, bottom line is they're just as bad as XLE. They go up and they give it up. You can see they're up in quadrant 4, all right, and then they give it all up. All right, they even go down to quadrant 1, and they give that up too. Okay, so you can see they have struggles going down and struggles going up. So they're just stuck in the neutral zone right here. Okay, they're not in the upper third, they're not in the lower third. But they are in an uptrend. They continue to make higher lows and higher highs. If price takes out this low, see that wick down there? If they take out that wick down there, all right, that would be a lower low, all right, and that would be a downtrend, all right. Right now, they're in an uptrend, okay. I'll tell you what I do like, a move from here, all right. I do like this, a move from here, and then hold the higher ground. But of course, it's interrupted by this up, give it up kind of thing right there, a little hunchback on that. Okay, but I do like the looks of that price, finally settling down. This, of course, was that was Iraq going to shut down the the canal, so cut off oil. Okay, so of course we had a big spike there. But I do like this moving up and moving over to the right. That is a bullish environment, holding that higher ground. Now look, okay, they were only up here for 3 days, and then they started to roll over. Look at here, 5 days and started to roll over. Here, 5 days, and then of course you got this huge red candle starting to roll over. Now, a little bit different here, okay, because they've been up there, all right, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 days now, okay? That's longer than they've been able to do it in the past, okay? Just saying, all right? That's something to make a note of, all right? It's much longer than they've done in the past, okay? So moving up, kind of holding that higher ground. Again, not in the upper third, okay? So it's not in the lower third. So it's just neutral through here, okay? It's up over the 3-year high anchored VWAP, okay? You can see price. This is the post-COVID high right there. You can see this would be 2020 COVID, okay? Post-COVID high right there, all right? And this is the 3-year high anchored VWAP right there, and they're up on top of that. That is a bullish environment, and they're holding those highs. That's also bullish, but they're not quite there yet, okay? In the upper third, you can see they spent some time there. They were there, but they keep giving it away, okay? So there's USL, and that's in an uptrend, okay, until they take out that low. Let's take a look at UNG. Okay, this is Nat Gas. Okay, Nat Gas got it does have a head and shoulders pattern. Okay, here's a triple crown right here. This is a head, and then we've got a right shoulder. Is this double top right here? So there's a right shoulder. Wow, that came in thick. All right, and then we got a left shoulder right here. Okay, and then we've got a neckline that got challenged a few days ago right here. Okay, so we got, this is the all-time low right here in November, okay? So we got a head and shoulders pattern, all right, showing up right now. And you can see we broke the neckline, all right? And we're making, we're in a downtrend, okay? We're in a downtrend because we got, there's a high, well, there's a couple of lower highs, and then here's a couple of lower, even lower highs, okay? And then we got some lows. Here's a couple of lows there, and then here's 4 lows there. Well, we made, you can see a lower low down here. All right, so this is a downtrend, lower lows and lower highs. Okay, so there's UNG. All right, and of course you can see we're down here in quadrant 1. Okay, that's bearish. Okay, quadrant 1, that's bearish because we're down in quadrant 1. I got an extra one of these on here. There we go. All right, and we're underneath this. This is not a high bar that's set. It's an 18-month high anchored VWAP. Okay, you can see that's the all-time high. We didn't set the bar very high for UNG. Okay, because they were coming off those all-time lows right there. Okay, so you can see they still have trouble with this 18-month high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, so there's UNG in quadrant 1 and in a downtrend. Let's take a look at GLD. GLD making an attack on the all-time highs with a higher low and a higher high, closing over the bullish trap, over the 17, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so there's GLD, daily, uptrend, okay? It's in an uptrend because it's making higher lows, and it's got some higher highs up here, okay? So that's an uptrend, all right? Even though it didn't make a higher high here, okay? It hasn't made any lower lows, all right? So it's still in an uptrend. Up there at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. All right, nice launch pad getting built there, like a 3-month launch pad. That'll be a nice one. All right, so there's GLD. Like to see that take off sometime soon. Maybe this is the one. All right, so there's GLD bullish and in an uptrend. SLV, same deal. Okay. Look at this new 13-year high for SLV. Okay, just dropped the mic. All right. I would say it doesn't get any better than that, but it does because it's only the 13-year high, okay? The all-time high is $48 and something, but that's a 13-year high, okay? So that's very good up there, okay? Top, that's in an uptrend. New 13-year high for silver. SMH, cooling off a little bit today after making a new all-time high yesterday. Lower high, lower low, closing under bearish cross, but over the 17. Still up there in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Still up over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP, okay, and still in an uptrend. You can obviously see the higher lows and the higher highs, okay, so still bullish and in an uptrend up there. XLK probably did the same thing. They work together most of the time. All right, lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the rising 17 EMA. Again, made a new all-time high yesterday, right there. Up at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish and in an uptrend, right there. XLF, it's our financials. All right, inside day, higher low, lower high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. Again, moving up, holding that higher ground. That is a bullish environment. That's a bullish behavior. That's a bullish characteristic. Okay? When you see that, just think of planking. All right? For 6.5 hours. All right? That takes an incredible amount of strength. Okay, so XLF, bullish. That's strong, bullish, and in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, let's take a look at IYT. And here's IYT holding the higher ground up here in the upper third. That's bullish and in an uptrend. IYT. All right, let's take a look at a few of my my goodies. Okay, MBLY. I flagged that one. All right, see the little star next to it? I flagged that one because it was in a grinder box. Okay. On the daily chart. So let's take a look. MBLY. All right, you see the box down here? Okay. So I'm expecting, this is a bear flag. You know, typically the move for a bear flag is, notice they're not giving it up. Okay. See, you know, when they go up and then they give it up, that's neutral. Okay. Same thing when they go down. Notice they go down and they're moving over to the right. Okay, see it? Down and over to the right, indicating it possibly, just saying possibly, no guarantees, okay? We may get another move lower, or maybe down to challenge this low right here. Okay? So I'll be looking for a move lower to challenge this breakup candle low right there. Okay? Right at $14. Okay, keep an eye on this. Look for a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP on that. Okay, so there's MBLY. Let's see what else I got. All right, I got some goodies. And let's do another one. EYE. All right, we'll check that out. And URGN. All right, EYE and URGN. Okay, EYE. Okay, building a little launch pad up here. Okay, like that. Looking like some all-time highs if you ask me. All right, I don't know. All right, let's zoom out and see how. No, not all-time highs, but stuck on resistance right up here. So they're building a launch pad, and hopefully they have a nice launch off of there. Maybe they can fill this big void right here, that big red candle or the gap down or whatever. So there's EYE. That's bullish and in an uptrend and building a launch pad. So that's why I flagged it, because it's building a launch pad right there. Look at all the green dots. Okay, that's bullish. Okay, URGN. Oh, look at URGN busting out of the concave launch pad right here. Okay, so here's, see the bull flag. All right, and you can see here's a nice lift off right there today. Nice move right there on URGN. Notice the higher lows. Okay, the rising lows, kind of indicating the launch is imminent. Right there. You like that word? Okay, the launch could be imminent. Could be. All right, and there it is. Nice candle right there on URGN. All right. Lifting off right over that launch pad there. Yeah, and widening that 3/8 gap. Yeah, you betcha. Okay, so that's on my my bulls and bears list. I print that every morning. Okay, I kind of flag the ones that I think have the potential to move. Now, MBLY did not move, okay, while URGN did move. Okay, it's not every day. We had some, let's see if I got some the day before. TMC, CIFR. I think CIFR crapped out, and TMC and HYPD. Let's take a look at, see what happened with those, all right? I'm pretty sure CIFR crapped out. CIFR. No, it did not. Okay, it didn't even cut below the 17. One of these did. Maybe it's the movie channel, TMC. Okay, so look at, here's the launch pad there. Right there. Do you know what I don't like? This is nice, but I don't like all those wicks. There's a lot of wicks up there, but nice solid close up over all of those wicks right there. So that one got taken off the list because it already blasted off and gave it up. I didn't like the idea that it gave it up. And then look at this. They came back today with a whopper candle. Wow. Okay. I took it off because they kept giving it up every time they launched. It's like take 2, take 3, you know, didn't seem to want to take, all right? Couldn't seem to stay airborne, all right? So I took it off, and then look at the candle they put in today. Nice candle. What do I know? TMC. Yeah, TMC came all the way down here. I didn't like that. See how it undid? They were building a pad, all right? They recovered a little bit today, okay? But they were building a pad, and you can see right here, they took out 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 candles with that one candle. So I didn't like that, so I took the flag off of that one. That was TMC, and then HYPD. HYPD. Yeah, well, this is the one that clunked out. Okay, you can see it closed below the 17. For me, that's a red flag. It's no longer in an uptrend whenever they cut below the 17 right there. Okay, so that's HYPD. That got knocked off the list. All right, HYPD. All right, that's it for me today, traders. Let's do this again. All right, that was a nice bullish move into the close. Hopefully we get some follow through on that. Just want to say we get Google earnings tomorrow night. They may get jacked up tomorrow on Google and such. Not sure why they sold off today, but they might get jacked up for Alphabet earnings tomorrow after the close. Yep. See you, Tex. Thanks for all the participation and the help with the room, helping the members. Love that. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a beautiful evening. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 8 o'clock.